This is how Dan Martell gained 150,000 subscribers in the last 4 months as an educator. Dan grew slowly on YouTube in his first 8 years. Yes, 8 years before something happened right around here. But how? Was it skill? Did the algorithm suddenly change and he got lucky? Or did Dan discover something so crazy that we don't know? To find out, I spent one whole week watching and analyzing over 100 of his last videos. Yes, 100 videos. But during that dark, miserable slog, I discovered some clear signs of genius behind Dan's growth. Common signs emerged, equations were derived, questions were answered, nuggets were discovered. No, not that kind of nuggets. And I discovered something Dan did was so smart, so big brain, that it got him 150,000 new subscribers in the last 4 months. Good thing is, it's actually quite simple, and this video will walk you through all of it. Dan is a phenomenal creator with amazing video ideas, educating videos, and a natural camera personality, and he's always been this talented. And that story is 100% true, right? Except no, that's not true. Let's rewind 5 years back. Here is Dan educating his audience and just genuinely enjoying creating videos. His videos are missing a lot of things, but hey, he's an entrepreneur, a business owner, a SaaS wizard, not a YouTuber. But something must have changed, because look at these two intros.
Hi there, I'm Dan Martell, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. In this video, I'm going to share with you...
I've already stopped watching. So what the heck happened to changing from that to this?
I went from a broke 17-year-old with 15 bucks in my pocket to a 27-year-old millionaire with over $1 million cash in my bank account. But if I had to do it over again starting today and go from zero to $1 million by the end of this year, this is exactly how
That's a huge difference. Throughout his years of content, he has decent video ideas. The information in the video itself is really valuable to his audience, but it's just not hitting with that broad market and thousands of his ideal clients. Dan eventually needed to accept that his videos aren't great, because this quality of video would never get you to 250,000 subscribers as an educator and a business owner. Intros lose me because he starts with himself instead of the viewer's best interest in mind. He doesn't effectively dive deeper into what the viewer will get in his video, and half of the intro could be cut to make it more effective. And unfortunately, this is just your typical YouTube intro. There's nothing that makes Dan stand out. Dan continues to be on YouTube for years, but there's still no exponential growth. So maybe he just needs more grind. The grind, the hustle. He continues to be consistent with content and grind out more quantity, but the problem is, if he doesn't change his current YouTube formula, his videos won't reach the amount of people he wants, and ultimately he won't get more for what he's already putting in. And eventually Dan realizes this and changes his YouTube formula, where he has gained over 150,000 subscribers in the last 4 months. And it starts with his video ideas. One of the biggest factors to his YouTube success is because he starts creating content that people actually want to watch. And how Dan gets his video ideas is very simple, but it's extremely effective. First, he understands who his audience is and what they need help with. Secondly, he understands video trends very well. He knows that by creating similar video ideas to what his audience has already paid attention to and likes watching, he will get the same level of growth. For example, these two videos on screen, which done really well, he saw the trends of other videos similar to this do well, and he added his own spin to it. Or this book video, he saw a trend of creators that made videos on how many books they read and how they learned and how fast they learned, what they actually learned in the books. And this is something Dan thought he could do, and he made it better. You don't need a total blue ocean video idea to do good on YouTube. You're not Mr. Beast. Just use what already works and put your own spin to it. It's what all the top creators on YouTube do. Just make sure that your video idea appeals to at least 500,000 people in your niche and is actually interesting to watch. Now, you might be thinking, but nothing I can say to my audience is interesting. Well, there's no excuse, because Mark J. Colher is an accountant and a tax advisor. Yes, it's very boring, but still has over 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. Or Clean My Space by Melissa Maker. She literally just cleans houses and has over 2 million subscribers. There's no excuse. If they can make something so boring seem interesting, you can too. And I created a full guide on creating video ideas using the exact same formula like the top creators on YouTube, which you can find in the description. And that is the first part of the equation, creating a good video idea complete. But you can have the best video idea, best editing and story story, but it's useless if you cannot get people to click. And that's where the next piece of the formula comes, the title and the thumbnail. The title and thumbnail is essentially bringing your video idea to life in a way that drives clicks. Dan's old thumbnails broke the fundamental rules of a good thumbnail, which is show, don't tell, leave unanswered questions in the viewer's mind, and keep it as simple as possible. For example, look at the thumbnail on screen. The title of the video is the same as the text on the thumbnail, which does not give the viewer a visual on what the video is about. The reason why this is so important is because viewers interpret visuals 60,000 times faster than text, and the quicker they understand what your video is going to give them through your title and thumbnail, the more likely they are to click. Secondly, it's not clear and understandable at first glance, which makes viewers less convinced to click, because they were always comparing whose video will give them more value for their attention. And if your video does not create that intrigue on the first glance, it results in no clicks. Lastly, a good thumbnail leaves unanswered questions in the viewer's mind. Dan's old thumbnail did do this to a degree, but his thumbnails now are much better at leaving unanswered questions. In fact, his thumbnails now incorporate the three things perfectly. It shows the viewer what the video is about, it leaves unanswered questions in the viewer's mind, and each thumbnail is kept as simple as possible. They have minimal words and elements, so it's clear and understandable to the viewer. That's the second part of the equation the title and thumbnail completed. All Dan had a structure to his videos and got straight into the meat of the video, which means the issue in his videos was simply that it was boring. What has he changed in his videos to make it more digestible? Well, first off, he actually has good intros. Take a look at this.
I went from a broke 17-year-old with 15 bucks in my pocket to a 27-year-old millionaire with over $1 million cash in my bank account. But if I had to do it over again starting today and go from zero to $1 million,
perfect intro. First of all, there are 9 cuts. Yes, 9 cuts in the first 20 seconds. Second, the intro builds anticipation for the viewer to get hooked. Dan builds that anticipation by flexing his accomplishments so that the viewer can trust that there's going to be tons of value in the video. Notice how Dan completely removed his highlight reel intro and doesn't introduce himself in a robotic, boring way anymore, and instead he restates the title in his first line of the video to introduce who he is and what the video is about. You'll notice all the top YouTubers like MrBeast, Eric, Ryan Trahan also do the same thing. On top of having killer intros, Dan and his team are now actually editing his videos, which sounds absurd that they weren't editing it before. The earlier videos were raw, had no music, no visuals, and that's why the viewer would lose focus because it's boring. But now it's 2024, right? People have low attention spans and all the other videos have editing on them, so you need to be at least matching the same level of editing. But now they cut all the dead space, they include music, visuals to keep the video interesting and the viewer engaged, and overall they have great pacing. And pacing is basically asking yourself, are there going to be any points in this video where I lose focus or where I'm not as interested? Pacing doesn't mean you have to go super fast like MrBeast, but when you rewatch your videos, ask yourself, which parts am I losing focus? And when you are losing focus, cut that part out. And that is the third part of the equation, creating a good video idea completed. That is how Dan has gained 150,000 subscribers in the last 4 months and will gain millions of more subscribers than what he is currently on. But remember guys, he's been at it for nearly a decade. He's been consistent, and only now has he seen that exponential success on YouTube after all the trials, tribulations and failures.